Hello and welcome to another RWBY fanfiction reading. So, a long time ago I did this story, which is Bumbleby Shorts 1, and now we have Bumbleby Shorts 2. So, yeah, yeah, so this will probably only be one part. We'll see what happens. But again, it's by Kyle Wagner, one of the best writers I've seen so far. Reading. So, 5 feet and under. Blake, I don't care what you say. I'm going in, Yang said, trying to break Blake's grip from her arm. What are you talking about? You're going to break something, whether it be you or the plastic, Blake replied, tightening. Let go of me and let me live my life, Yang pleaded, pulling on Blake's arm to no avail. Just think of the repercussions. We could get in a lot of trouble, Blake said, refusing to let go. Ugh, fine, Yang moaned, lowering her arms to her sides. Now begins the plan. Finally, I could talk some sense into you, Blake sighed, letting go of Yang's arm, immediately regretting her decision to do so. Yang leaped away, swerving in between tables left and right, dashing towards the door to the kids' play place. Uncle Crow had never let her go into one before, and now she could finally do so. Before Blake could even react, Yang was already tossing her shoes to the side and climbing into the plastic tube. Ugh, whatever, Blake growled, turning towards the counter, approaching the cashier there. I'll take a bottle of water, please. Sure thing, ma'am, that'll be 1 lien, the man said, the smile on his face obviously looking fake. So, how did you get stuck at this McDuck? Got athletic enough, and I even eventually had to quit because I fell behind in my aura training as well, the man replied, leaning against the counter. It's not a good reason to quit. Ever heard of something called Wow. Determination? It does wonders for a person. It could get my friend Jean to talk to you. Or I could get my friend Jean to talk to you. He was a complete wimp. He even cheated his way into Beacon, Blake replied, sipping from the water bottle. Blake, help! A voice rang out from the play place, muffled by the plastic in between the main restaurant and the maze of plastic tubes. That would be my girlfriend, Blake sighed, putting a hand on her forehead. Sorry, gotta run. You know how immature some people can be. Blake turned quickly, nearly spilling her water despite the fact it was in a bottle. She slowly walked over to the playplace door, opening it with a slight creak. She looked up to see that the maze of plastic tubes was much more intricate than she had originally thought. Because you're here, I may or may not be stuck, and I also may or may not be lost. Sorry, Yang yelled, her voice echoing through the tunnels. You'd better be happy that this restaurant isn't very crowded, you know. Parents and kids alike would be complaining left and right that had they seen us climb into here, Blake replied, ducking to avoid hitting her head on a plastic rod only to hit another on her way back up. Blake, are you okay? I heard a loud noise, Yang asked. Blake noted that Yang sounded genuinely worried. It's fine, or I'm fine. It's these damn monkey bars, or whatever they may be, Blake replied. She could hear Yang's voice getting closer. Blake, look up, Yang said, banging on the clear plastic above her head. Blake looked up to see a blushing Yang pointing to Blake's left. There's a ladder there. Thanks, I didn't notice it, Blake sighed. She can be such a pain sometimes. Blake crawled her way to the ladder, having to arch her back just to get up the ladder since the space was so small. She turned to see Yang waving at her, who then crawled out to meet her, crossing her arms. took off, crawling as fast as she could, never once looking behind her to see if Blake was close behind. She swerved through the tunnels, making a hard right, every once in a while. That always caught Blake. Wow. I wouldn't try calling that number, because I assume it's some sort of, like, spam type thing, so... It's just kind of funny how, like, the only phone number... Alright, that's so wonderful. Yang took off, crawling as fast, looking behind her to see if Blake was close behind. She swerved through the tunnels, making a hard right every once in a while that always caught Blake off guard. Get back here, you fiend! Blake growled, grazing Yang's foot with her hand in a desperate attempt to grab her. You'll never get away. Just watch me, Yang laughed before suddenly jerking back. Blake? Whatever may it be, Yang, Blake said, emphasizing the fact that she had finally caught up to the blonde. I'm stuck, for real, Yang said, struggling to go forwards or backwards. You're lying, Blake replied, her eyes widening to see that Yang was, in fact, stuck. Her mind began to race with ideas, none of them resulting in both Yang being free and the place staying intact. I can just use my semblance, but I'd need to get hurt somehow, Yang suggested, feeling the plastic move as Blake furiously shook her head no. How would you even suppose we'd do that? If you lose your hair, you'd explode. What else could we do? Blake worried, turning to look out the small window behind her. Nobody seemed to notice the position they were in, luckily. Blake turned back around to see Yang struggling even more, feet flying backwards, nearly catching Blake's face. Be careful, you almost hit me, Blake yelled, throwing herself backwards, suddenly stopping halfway through her flight. Blake, are you okay? I heard another loud noise, Yang asked, being unable to turn around due to her own circumstances. You fiend! Now I'm stuck as well, Blake replied, pushing against a plastic ring that jutted out from the tube. This is your fault, you do realize. Sorry, I just wanted to have a bit of fun. I can get us out of this. I just need to think, Yang replied, struggling more against the plastic ring. Yang, we both know that we need to call for help, Blake groaned, reaching down for her pocket, only to realize it was on the other side of the ring from her arms. What? Yang, I can't reach my pockets, can you? Blake said worriedly. I don't exactly want to damage this place, so we need to call for help. No, can't do? Whatever. Her nope, can't do, kitty cat. My hands can't fit through the gap, Yang replied, her struggling waving the tube back and forth. Maybe I could lend a hand? A voice rang from below Blake. She turned to see a cashier on top of the pipe below her holding a large screwdriver. Thank dust you're here. We're in a situation, Blake mumbled, her words barely reaching through the tube. Yo, cashier, dude, thanks for coming, Yang yelled, making a point that she was stuck for longer and should be released first. Patience is a virtue. Just hold on a second, the cashier said, unfastening the screws around Blake's tube, freeing her within a minute. The cashier then turned to where Yang was stuck and repeated the action, freeing Yang even faster. Finally, thanks, cashier dude, Yang said, giving the cashier determination, miss. It's a wonderful thing, cashier said, winking at Blake. Now can we get down from here? We're like really high up. Alright, that was a very interesting story, but you know, whatever. Okay, I was gonna say, please tell me this doesn't break. Oh my god, why is it doing this? Mind your own business. So as I was saying, turtles, what's the deal with them? Yang asked, a very tired John. Yang, can't we slow down? I can't carry all the weight from your aching. Can we at least stop at the car or grab a car? Not at all, Jean. Meeting started, but was interrupted by a beauty in the corner of her eye. Yang lowered her sunglasses at the black-haired faunus in the corner, browsing the books. The girl was minding her own business, her ears flicking occasionally. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing wide-rimmed glasses. Hey, Jean, check out that 10 in the corner, Yang said, poking Jean on the side. She giggled as Jean started looking around, confused. Yang, there are 4 corners. I don't even see a hot guy anywhere. I don't know who you are referring to, Jean spat out, growing even more annoyed at Yang's laughing. Well, Jean, maybe guys ain't my style. That faunus especially proves my point, Yang thought, grabbing a coat from a hanger, unaware that the faunus in the corner was now staring at her. I mean, seriously, that girl was seriously beautiful, like a girl that comes around once in a lifetime. If only she weren't such a nerd, Yang thought, her thoughts drifting over towards the faunus in the corner. A nerd, you say? Then maybe she was, I don't know. Blasted an obnoxiously loud voice, just loud enough for Blake to hear it clearly. I think it's amazing, personally. That's it, I'm tired of being your mule, Jean yelled, gently setting all of the bags and baskets on the ground behind him. He then pulled out a phone and dialed a quick number. Pira, Columbia Mall, please. I can't even walk anymore. A helicopter appeared outside the shop in seconds, to which John climbed in, hugging the pilot, which was in fact the world famous Pira Nikos. The helicopter flew away, leaving Yang with a large pile of bags and baskets to carry herself. Was that Pira Nikos? Blake asked, suddenly appearing beside Yang, causing her to jump. Ah, when did you get here? Yang yelled, falling over into the coat rack she had just pulled a coat from. Just seconds ago. I've been in the book corner for the last hour or so. Jesus, Blake replied, pointing. Oh my god. Dang, she's even cuter up close, Yang thought, her expert flirting skills in the past allowing her to hide her blushing flawlessly. I heard your servant ditched you, Blake said, barely able to hide her own blush. I'd like to help under one circumstance. Sure thing, kitty cat. What is it? Yang asked, seeing Blake shove a book into her face. I'll be your servant for the rest of the day, Blake spat out, suddenly realizing the implications of what she said. Now that's something I can get behind, Yang thought, giggling to herself. Sure, but let's keep it to the shopping, shall we? Of course, thank you, Blake said, annoyed by the blonde's constant promiscuous thoughts. So, what's your name? Yang asked, seeing the faunus pick up the bags one by one, organizing them into a pile resting on a single hand. My name began, struggling to find words to explain what she was seeing in front of her. Geometry and trigonometry in college, plus there was a gym there. Nerds aren't so useless, you know, Blake said, her mouth as she almost gave away her position to read Yang's thoughts freely. What? Well, I guess not. Nice to meet you, Blake, Yang thought, shaking Yang's hand furiously. So what do you think of this jacket? Pretty good, I'd say, though I think the blue is a bit too harsh compared to your hairstyle. Might I suggest a tan one? Blake responded, pointing to the tan one in Yang's left hand. Wow, she's attractive, strong, smart, and knows fashion. The odds for playing for my team are almost nil, though, Yang thought, putting the blue coat back on the rack. Anyways, let's get to buying you that book, shall we? Yang replied, making her way towards the counter. Sure, may I bother you to let me borrow... What? Sure, may I bother you to let me borrow some paper and a pen? Blake asked, setting the pile of bags down on the floor beside her, taking the pen and paper that were practically shoved into her arms by Yang. Sure thing. Sure thing. Cashier, put it on my tab, Yang ordered. The cashier, that looked oddly familiar to her, typed a few numbers into his register, giving Yang a receipt. Here you go. Have a nice day. The cashier and Blake said at once. Both. Whatever could this be? Yang asked, reading the 10 digits off of the slip of paper Blake gave her, nearly dropping it in surprise. End of of that's the end of Bumbleby Shorts number 2. Yeah, our first single part story in a while. It's crazy. I actually didn't read the author's note up here, which would have kind of explained that, but you know. So Blake can read minds, and she she was definitely having trouble. So yeah, obviously she can read minds, which is why she heard some of the things that Yang was thinking, and then obviously she was having trouble with some of the things that Yang was thinking anyways. But that's it. Next time we have something kind of weird, and is another thing that I've been thinking about for a while, kind of waiting for. Um, it's in the realm of RWBY reacts to ships. Terrible, but I don't know how I don't know the quality of this one because I haven't read it. I didn't read the other one either, but I hope this is going to be better. So next time after our next different. Yeah, we're done.